Sure.
about any of those issues?
If there's questions during this part, please ask, because I think there's going to be so much information here that I think it, you know, if to clarify, I guess I should say.
Absolutely. If there's any questions or discussion, please feel free to interrupt. Some of this is going to look fairly familiar. A lot of it is refinement of what we've seen. But basically, we took the development plans, or the conceptual plans that were prepared earlier. We melded into them the ancillary facilities to see how that fit with the available land. We looked at how do we coordinate the development plans for the three sites. How are they related? How are they different? And how should they be phased from a time scale standpoint? And then we prepared site-specific plans for each of the three locations at Pevely and Herculaneum and Crystal City. And then at the end, I'll be showing you the phasing plans, how they generally will fit together on an overall time frame. Going to the ancillary facilities, I talked about the switch boats earlier. Again, nothing new here, except that one switch boat location would probably do 20 miles of river, so it doesn't have to be one for each of the three. That's important to remember. The other thing is that as facilities are built, and we're looking at 10 to 20 year time frame into the future, most certainly more switch boats than just one will be needed. Fleeting area, I worked with Barbara to look at fleeting areas to see where they could be located along the river, and basically the Corps says no problem, you just have to have a permit for it, and it obviously cannot interfere with either navigation or some of the environmental issues. We pretty much considered using cells for fleeting because of the river currents in the area, but certainly they could also be anchors, especially on the east side of the river where the current isn't so fast. The other one that's going to be important to an operation is barge servicing, cleaning, preparation, and repair. And it seems like it's fairly informal type of operation. It can occur anywhere along the river. You can get a pickup truck and a gangway out to a moored barge. But it's a pretty good little industry, and it's an ancillary thing to having your main cargo terminals. So this is something also that needs to be located within the facility. And again, as needs grow, it's likely something like this would have to be expanded. So in coordinating these things together, we looked at the early adopters, the medium term, the long term that I spoke about earlier, and said, okay, how do we work that into a map? How do we map that onto the site we have? And basically right now at Herculaneum we have available river sites. They're sites that have historic use as river port. It's open land. It's a willing landowner, and so the initial development we believe would happen at Herculaneum, and most likely would be the early adopters. That's your public dry bulk terminal for various local industries. Going into the medium term, and we can look at that being anywhere 5 to 10 years forward, is development in Crystal City, and that's a bigger development because that requires to have a port, that requires a slack water terminal. It's a large, rather costly excavation, and to do something in Crystal City with that type of investment, you need a lot of cargo, and a lot of cargo is those medium-term kind of industries that like the coal and the grain. Coincidentally, of course, medium term also would include a grain terminal in Herculaneum. Again, we're looking at medium term, possibly some development in Pevely. That could go into the long term, and this is some of the uncertainties in the market. It's when someone comes that needs that particular site, and I'll be talking about that in a little bit, the characteristics of that site, how it fits into the phasing. And then finally, in the long term, we've got some of the prospects that we know are on the river, but we don't know exactly when that market's going to come about. But what we also may be facing is some repurposing of facilities that were built in the near term, that were built for the early adopters, is that by 2038, our planning horizon, some of the facilities that are built in the next 5 years may be ready to be reevaluated and rebuilt into a new type of cargo handler. So just starting north and working south, talking about Pevely, we're thinking in the 6 to 15 year time frame, and I'll use a handy little light here. This is the UP rail line here, and this is a yard. It goes back here, and there's some connections out west. In fact, there's a rather large car repair site that's, I guess, about 20 or 30 miles to the west there. It's rather important. But what we've got is in the near term, we would want to do some improvements here because this rail line is got some substandard curves, and it needs more storage tracks. So regardless of what else happens in the Pevely area here, we think some rail upgrades are going to be needed in that near to midterm to support the new port facilities in Herculaneum and down in Crystal City. That being said, there is a good opportunity for a liquid bulk facility with a pontoon type floating transfer barge.